Hey guys, I'm alive in case you were wondering. Sorry I haven't been making a lot of videos recently, but I've returned and I couldn't have asked for a better excuse. Anyways, welcome back to the channel. I'm Interactor127, and after what seems like a century, honestly, I'm going to talk about Marvel Spider-Man 2 again. More specifically, about the new story trailer that Insomniac dropped last week at San Diego Comic-Con. As you probably already know, the first gameplay reveal for Marvel Spider-Man 2, which was the first official update for the game since the trailer dropped in late 2021. It came out a couple months ago. I mean, the gameplay reveal did. But unfortunately, I couldn't make a video about it. I was very busy with stuff going on in my personal life. So I do apologize for not being able to cover it then, but I'm back now. We have an official new story trailer that Insomniac released at San Diego Comic-Con last week, and yeah, it's got a lot of interesting stuff to unpack. I'm not going to go over every single little bit of it, but what I will say is that I will try to cover as much as I can and kind of give some of my theories. Also, if you notice why the speed on the video is so slow, my recording software, OBS Studios, for some reason can't keep up with the fast-paced motion of normal speed, so I've turned it down to 0.25 speed. So apologies if that looks a little clunky, but it would be pretty much impossible to see and very unpleasant to look at if I ran it in normal speed, even without the audio. And unfortunately, because the audio will be slowed down as well, I can't show audio clips from the trailers. So yeah, unfortunately that is the way it is, but it's better than the alternative. So thank you guys so much for being patient with me, and now I have more time to talk between each scene and ramble on. So I mean, at least there's that. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more Marvel Spider-Man 2 related videos, and the links for the story trailer and gameplay video are in the description, so you guys can watch it and, make your own analysis of it, because unfortunately I can't play dialogue, from the trailer. So, yeah. Alright, and of course there are spoilers for both of Insomniac's previous Spider-Man games, Marvel Spider-Man and Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. Okay, let's get into the trailer and start dissecting it. So the trailer basically starts. I'll skip through it, but it starts with Harry Osborn talking to Peter Parker, and the dialogue here kind of implies that the symbiote has cured Harry of his disease, and that Harry is now asking Peter to help him heal the world. Now, pay attention to those words; those are going to come up later, and it's kind of important to one of the biggest theories surrounding this trailer. But basically, this whole conversation, what I think it's going to lead to is that Peter is going to be working alongside Harry at Oscorp to study the symbiote and use it as a treatment for these illnesses. Obviously, Harry seems like he is cured of the disease. He says he's got a second chance, and he's going to take advantage of that. And it sounds like he kind of wants to give something back to the world, like the symbiote has healed him, in a sense. And of course, that's not going to go well, but it's a Venom story. We got to have Venom, so yeah, and this whole theory of mine kind of makes it less likely that Peter, if it ends up being true, it makes it less likely that Peter would be teaching at Midtown High, as some people previously speculated. He may still be, who knows, maybe he'll have two jobs, or technically three, including the Spider-Man job. But, I think that it still could be the case that he is teaching at Midtown High, because they did heavily hint at that in Miles Morales. And as you can see right now, Spider-Man, but both of the Spider-Men are swinging, beautifully through the city. It's a beautiful shot. And then we go to Coney Island, and this is an interesting scene. First, we see an Easter egg for Big Wheel. If you guys want to look at that, I don't know if you can see my mouse. For some reason, it doesn't show it sometimes on the recording. But if you look to your, to the middle, not quite, not the far left, but you can see something. You can see a wheel. Yeah, it says Big Wheel, and Big Wheel is of course an obscure Spider-Man villain who we all know is going to become Venom. Uh, you know, if you do enjoy those Big Wheel puns that everyone's been putting around, leave a hashtag Justice for Big Wheel in the comments section. I would really appreciate it. It was something that I started a little while ago, and I thought it'd be kind of funny if I could get other people to join on with that, just as a bit of a comedic thing. But getting back to the trailer, we're at Coney Island, and we see that Peter's basically introducing Harry to Miles, and I think this is supposed to be Genki. And as you can see, a lot of the character models have changed. Peter's obviously has that new face that wasn't present in the original PS4 game, but we've gotten used to that, and it honestly looks a lot better. I think that the PS5 software has made it a lot better. Miles has a new haircut, Peter's a new haircut, Harry and MJ have new faces, or at least different appearances. And I like all of these changes. I don't think any of them look bad. And it's gonna probably look even better because I mean the game's still in development. It's not like it's coming out tomorrow. It's coming out October 20th, so we still have a little under 3 months before we get the final product. And then the trailer shifts to Kraven the Hunter and his army, which is going to be Kraven's going to be a big recurring villain in this game. It seems like, and it seems like Peter from his dialogue with MJ has not encountered Kraven before, which doesn't surprise me. It doesn't annoy me. I was originally a little weirded out that Spider-Man in this universe had not like fought Silver Sable in the first game. But I think that, saving these, villains that will be in the main narrative to be developed in their own way and without past connection to Spider-Man is kind of good for, I think it's a good thing Insomniac is doing that because it gives them their ability to, have their own twist on the character, and I'm happy that they did that. I think that one of the reasons why I really like Spider-Man and the Spider-Man lore is that it's just there's so many different paths that Peter and his supporting cast and his rogues gallery can take. That's one of the reasons why I love the Ultimate Spider-Man books. And as you can see right here, speaking of Ultimate Spider-Man, I originally thought that the symbiote in this game was going to be more man-made and it was going to be a substance created by Oscorp, similar to how it was, an unfinished cure for cancer that Peter Parker's father and Eddie Brock's father were creating in the Ultimate Comics. But it seems, according to Insomniac, they have confirmed that the symbiote in this game is an alien, and this scene backs that up because you can see a meteor crash or the side of a meteor crash. There's some armed guards, and this man in his hides basically, trying to get them to kind of ease themselves, to kind of lower their weapons and let him obtain the symbiote. And I think, a lot of people have, made some speculation or have, speculated about who this is. I think is Dr. Connors. I think a lot of people, think the same thing. You may say, well, how could it be Dr. Connors? He has both arms. Well, this could be before he lost his arm. And considering Connors, Peter, Connors in this post-credit scene for Miles Morales seems to have a good, there's help letting, sorry, in the post-credit scene for Miles Morales, Connors is letting Norman know how the symbiote is kind of stabilizing Harry, and Peter says in the gameplay reveal that Harry's dying and that they need Connors' help, with the symbiote. So it seems like it would make sense that, if he was working on this thing from, the moment it arrived on Earth, he would have a pretty good idea of, how it ticks. Um, yeah, I think that's my deal. I'm completely fine with Insomniac taking the traditional origin with the symbiote being an alien. I'm completely fine with that. I'm a little surprised that it wasn't more like the Ultimate Comics, but that's okay. And then we get this brief scene where Miles confronts Martin Lee, who's of course Mr. Negative. He was a big villain in the first game. He caused the City Hall bombing that killed Miles's dad, Jefferson Davis. And he was presumed. We didn't really know what happened to him at the end of the first game. It seemed like he could. We weren't really sure if he had been locked up in the raft because the last we saw of him was when when Doctor Octavius attacked Mr. when pushed him aside and attacked Peter, to get the anti-serum, but then we never really saw him after that. We didn't see a scene at the end where he was locked up in the raft. We know that everyone else from the Sinister Six is in the raft, but Lee, for all we know, could be out and, you know, out and roaming. I think in Miles Morales, they did say that he was like, in prison, but that could be relating to when he was briefly in prison before the raft breakout. So it's going to be interesting to see how he fits into the story. I think it's interesting that they're bringing him back. I didn't think they were going to do that. But I like, one of the things that I've wondered about for a couple of years is how Miles would, deal with, seeing Lee after he's, or I guess what I'm trying to say is that I would be interested to see how Miles, deals with Lee, following, if he showed back up after the Devil's Breath crisis. Because, of course, Miles wasn't Spider Man then. He knew that Lee killed his father after Peter turned him in the first time. But it's going to be interesting. Maybe he'll have a redemption arc. Maybe he'll be part of saving Harry. I've seen a lot of people say that, Venom is actually going to be Eddie Brock and that Harry's going to become anti-Venom, and Mr. Negative is going to help with that. And I don't think that that's the most likely scenario, but we'll see what happens. I think, who knows why he's here. He might, there might be a raft breakout, because God knows that always, that doesn't happen enough. But if we do get a scene between Miles and Lee, I mean, obviously we are, but if we are, since we're gonna get this, I really hope that Peter and Dr. Octavius get to have kind of, some scene where they kind of acknowledge each other, and maybe Peter's kind of reminded of how much of a monster Otto has become, or we could see something where Otto kind of seems like he's kind of calmed down a little bit. He's not exactly super resentful of Peter anymore. Either way, I think that it would be an interesting contrast to this, but either way, very interesting to see. And then after this, we see Peter and someone else on the ground staring at this mysterious figure. Originally, I thought this was Peter and Miles, but looking at it more clearly, this is clearly the advanced suit Spider Man. And, who knows? I think some people said this is a criminal or something. It's probably true. But either way, we see right here this mysterious figure. Originally, I thought that this was going to be Harry, who I think will be Venom, using the symbiote before he basically becomes, gigantic Venom, which we'll see in a minute. But after I've heard a lot of theories and, looking at the silhouette, it looks a lot like Yuri Watanabe, aka the Wraith. Originally I thought that her side, her like plot was going to be resolved in a side mission, but seems like she's going to be part of the main story, and I think that's going to be very interesting to see. I would really, I think especially if she shows up when Peter is kind of questioning his own morals as a result of the black suit. Yes, I know he's using the advanced suit here, as you can kind of tell by the white glove, the white pad on the glove on the red glove. But who knows? Maybe there'll be another mission where your black suit Spider Man, or who knows? Maybe you can switch back and forth between the red suit and the black suit in the game, like in Web of Shadows or the Spider Man free PS2 game. That'd be kind of cool. But either way, excited to see the Wraith here. Hope that they kind of use her as a contrast for Peter to you know um kind of recognize where the symbiote is kind of controlling him and making him um you know not like himself, kind of twisting his morals. I think that'd be very interesting to because he can kind of see, if he sees it from a different perspective, he might also recognize his own mistakes. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it from kind of a literary perspective, but either way, I think it'd be very interesting to see the Wraith, and I looking forward to seeing her in the game too. And then, there's this conversation that Miles and Peter are having, presumably about, Miles. I think in the trailer she says, Rio says to Peter, like, all Miles ever talks about is how to be a better Spider-Man, how to help you. So maybe, this is, again, this is with Peter in the advanced suit, so this is probably before he gets the black suit or maybe afterward. It seems like this is kind of at a point in the story where things are getting dire. Um, but either way, it could be relating to how Peter, to some of Peter's actions in the black suit. Maybe this is after he loses it, and Rio's kind of like, hey, what in the world's been going on with you? Why are you acting so crazily? Because Miles is probably going to have to fight Peter, and there's definitely going to be some internal conflict there. Regardless if we get like a Peter boss fight as Miles. Either way, just speculation. Um, or again, this could be misdirection, and Peter's actually in the black suit, and he's you know, kind of not listening to what Rio's saying, and blocking her out. Could be something interesting like that. Um, and then we get this scene. This was also in the gameplay reveal where Peter kind of jumps down with all these tendrils emerging from him, and then they retract into his suit. Then we see this really interesting shot of MJ seemingly hiding from Peter, who's all tendriled out. And, this is probably, I imagine that we'll get MJ stealth missions in this game. And I'm okay with the stealth missions hanging around for, for MJ and, like they were in the first game with her and Miles. I just hope that there's, some improvements, and I'm sure Insomniac is going to add to that and, make it a little bit, more engaging. I think that this would be a very, interesting mission, running away from Peter, kind of similar to how Miles had to run away from Rhino, one of those, stealth missions in, the first game. But I think this is very interesting. We'll talk about the lighting here in a second. Then we get a scene of Miles here, talking, or not talking, but encountering all these hunter people. Again, this is kind of the part in the trailer where everything goes crazy, but I want to talk about this shot with Peter, fighting Lizard with, and subduing him with the symbiote. And as you can see, the Lizard is screaming here. And that seems to be, it seems to be hurting Peter. So, this confirms that the symbiote will be weak to sound like it usually is. And, who knows, maybe it'll be, weak to fire, but, we'll have to see. Either way, I think that this will probably be part of a boss fight, kind of similar to the, lizard fight in Spider-Man 3, where you had to fight him in the black suit as Mega Lizard. Because, if you remember in that reveal trailer, if you've watched it, you know how big the lizard's gotten, and it seems like he's getting bigger. So who knows, maybe Insomniac's going to try to redo the Mega Lizard bit. But this will probably be part of the boss fight, that will almost inevitably come after Peter you know, tells Miles, hey, I got to deal with Lizard on my own, and he's kind of, enraged. And this is probably, he probably chases him through the sewers, and then there's some big boss fight, and this is a cinematic in there or something. Either way, it gives me massive nostalgia vibes for Spider-Man 3. Yeah. Then we get, Craven shot. And I think, yeah, right here, this is another interesting shot because what Harry says here is this was our dream, and it looks like he's talking to Peter. Seems like he's not necessarily you look at the expression on his face, and if you listen to the sound, to his words in the trailer. Again, sorry, I can't you know show it, but if you listen to how he talks, it seems like he's kind of disappointed, like someone let him down. Almost like the symbiote's been weaponized, and we'll get into that. That's a big part of my theory for some of the venomous related stuff. And then it just kind of we see the scene with him walking with a cane, kind of implying that he's not necessarily well, like the symbiote might have only been like a temporary cure for his disease. So or maybe he was just lying, like he was in the first game to MJ and Peter, and he's actually still dying. Who knows? We know that he's not gonna, he's gonna get worse according to that dialogue from Peter in the gameplay trailer or reveal back in May. And then we see this lighting right here, and MJ kind of looking shocked, almost like Peter's done something wrong. Like she's looking at Peter, and she's seeing how ruthless he's becoming. Maybe, you know, this is at a point, where MJ has to, kind of trail Peter without telling him. Maybe he's cut her off, and then, he notices, he hears someone there, and, he has to, and it's kind of like, you have to run away from him, like Miles had to run away from Rhino. I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but this is, the lighting here makes me think of the scene, where she hides behind the door from Peter earlier in the trailer. And then, we see some of Miles's new Venom powers, and we see Norman talking to Harry, and he says, I'm not going to lose you. This might be, some people think that this is the scene before Harry goes in the trailer, because Harry looks, some people say, hey, Harry looks a little bit younger here, and it looks like, him saying he's not going to lose you, like, like that makes more sense for Norman, at least from what we know, to be for something to, for him to say when he's trying to convince Harry to go into the chamber and have the symbiote heal him. And then we get this scene where Harry throws this glass against the window, and it reminds me a lot of the scene in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 where Harry just completely froze, or where he just kind of loses it after Peter refuses to give him his blood as Spider-Man. If you know what I mean, the scene where he screams, "You're a fraud, Spider-Man." Kind of reminds me of that. And then we get to the final part of the trailer where we hear Tony Todd's incredible Venom voice, which I unfortunately can't play, and I don't want to play it because it's at a slow speed, and and if I play it at normal speed, it might not even show the beautiful Venom shot. So yeah, it's kind of a lose-lose situation, but either way, we see what looks like Harry staring over Manhattan, and Venom here is saying, "We're going to heal the world." and it kind of sounds, it's the same thing that Harry said. So, that leads me personally, and a lot of people have, said, hey, this is, a sign that, hey, Harry is Venom. Other people think it's misdirection and that someone like Eddie Brock or Norman Osborn will be Venom. I think, I don't think that Insomniac is leading us on, kind of a wild goose chase, or is leading us, or is lying to us about the Eddie Brock thing. I think that that Eddie won't be Venom in this game. He might be in the game. Who knows? Maybe MJ kind of friends him at the Daily Bugle or something, and he has some relationship with Pete. So who knows? Maybe he will become Venom eventually. But I feel like that if I was writing this story and having Harry be, having the Osborn so involved in this Venom story, I would kind of want to condense it, and I feel like adding in Eddie Brock in there might be too much, to stir in the pot. Especially like, everyone talks about Spider-Man 3 and how Venom was handled poorly in that movie. And I agree that, Venom was probably the weakest villain, not necessarily Eddie Brock, but, Venom, just because he didn't get enough development and, he was at the very end. So I think that it would make more sense for Harry to be Venom. That's clearly what this trailer is hinting at, and maybe there is misdirection. Who knows? Maybe Harry will, in fact, not be Venom, but personally, right now, I do think he will be, and I'm going to talk about how I think that, he will become Venom. In this final shot of the trailer, I'll replay it. But yeah, this is him. This is a Venom basically attacking what looks like Kraven ships and jumping off into Times Square. And it looks very very menacing. And this being shown right after Venom says the same words that Harry did. We're going to heal the world. Makes a lot of people think Harry's Venom, including myself. But I'm going to explain why I think that. I think that Insomniac is purposely trying to kind of like mislead us, in not in the traditional sense, because I think that they know that a lot of people on the internet are gonna realize that and are gonna catch that they're saying we're going to heal the world, and I think that they realize that that's kind of too obvious. So I think I've heard some people say that maybe the misdirection with Harry being with Harry possibly being Venom is that there is no misdirection, and that they're kind of relying on us to kind of doubt it and say well, that's just too obvious because he says it in the trailer. So they might be trying to lead us on this wild goose chase of a sort. But how do I think Harry and Peter's relationship is going to fall apart? Because the symbiote has to, the symbiote is only one half of the equation. And if Harry doesn't hate Peter, it kind of doesn't really work as a narrative, from a narrative perspective, because both this host and the symbiote need to hate Spider-Man. The symbiote's obviously going to hate Peter for rejecting it, inevitably in the story, unless Peter somehow becomes Venom. But even then, he'll reject it eventually. At the end, who knows? But I believe that it will be the Peter's or Peter and Harry's falling out will be similar to that of Peter and Eddie in the Ultimate comics. As I said in the earlier in the video, Richard Parker and Eddie Brock Sr., Peter and Eddie Brock, their parents, in the Ultimate Universe, made the cure for cancer called the suit, which is essentially the Ultimate Universe's symbiote. And it was unfinished, and Peter and Eddie Junior tried to finish it, but Peter went behind Eddie's back to, test on it. Then he accidentally bonded with it and used it as Spider-Man until he realized how dangerous it is. And when he told Eddie about this, he was outraged. He was angry because not only had Peter gone behind his back, but he was basically forcing him to destroy, the only thing that, he had left of his father. And so he, went crazy, and he basically, made it his personal goal to ruin Peter's life and, use the other sample of the suit, um, you know, to get back at him as Venom. And I think that Harry is going to realize at some point in the game, unless he already knows by the beginning, and it's like an Otto Octavius scenario where, it's revealed, oh, he's known all along. But at some point, he's going to know that Peter is Spider-Man, whether that's at the beginning or at the end of the game. And when he finds out, he's probably going to realize, hey, this guy, has been on the news using the symbiote, and he's been weaponizing my work. And also, you know one of the conflicts that might be in the story is that Peter's looking for Connors, but he's also not being willing to give up the symbiote because it's influent, it's telling him not to, because the symbiote obviously wants to stay bonded with him, and so it's influencing his thoughts and saying, no, just go after Connors, and then, there'll probably be a scene in the story where Peter has to, is ganged up on by Connors, Harry, and, maybe Miles, where they're like, hey, you got to take the suit off, and he's like, no. Um, I got you, Connors. You need to figure this out, and then that leads to the Miles Peter boss fight that everyone's speculating. Um, and I think that maybe, Peter being influenced by the symbiote not to take it off and not to use that to, keep Harry, at least somewhat suspended, or keep Harry's condition somewhat suspended. I think that that's going to cause some, conflict between him and Harry. I think that that's going to be, the other side of the equation. Harry's going to hate Spider-Man for, using the suit and weaponizing it, but he's going to hate Peter for consciously knowing that, his best friend is sick and that this has been helping him, that this helped, to, kind of delay his death, and that he's not even, that Peter's not even letting is not even, taking off the symbiote to help him in the meantime while they get, the expert Connors back. If that sounds convoluted and kind of hard to follow, my apologies. But that is essentially how I think, this is going to play out. Peter's going to get, you know the symbiote is going to, convince Peter to find Connors, but it doesn't want to take off the symbiote, and in the process Harry's condition is going to get worse, and maybe that leads to him using, that maybe it gets so bad that, he has to use the cane, as seen in the trailer, and it's not going to be, I think that that's going to grow some resent. That's going to make Harry hate Spider-Man, and then once he finds out that it was Peter, who consciously knew that it was, he was endangering his best friend by not, giving him the thing that would help buy him some time. That's going to cause some conflict between them, as well as the weaponization of the symbiote, which was something that Harry saw as, something that he could use to heal the world, like it, somewhat healed him for a time. But, anyways, that's all I have to say about the Marvel Spider-Man 2 trailer. What did you guys think of it? Apologies for, the visuals being a little laggy, but this is essentially the only way that it could be visible. And apologies if I was rambling. I had kind of a loose script here in front of me. But I just wanted to get this video out. I've, tried, to make this a couple times over the past couple days and it just wasn't working. But hopefully this time it works. So if you like the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to see more content like this, turn on notifications and obviously do the other things, please. And if you want, you can also share the video with someone who you think would enjoy it. Someone who you think might be interested in Marvel Spider-Man 2. And yeah, check out my second political channel, or my second channel, Political Junkie 2414, and my comrades channel, Growling Zoo 666. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you all so much for watching. See ya.